In the day's other news, President Trump took on globalism and Iran in his formal address at the United Nations today. He spoke against the backdrop of this growing impeachment talk in Washington. Again, Yamiche Alcindor reports.
The president's tone may have been subdued.
If you want freedom, take pride in your country.
But his talk was still tough as he pushed his America First approach.
The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots.
In his address to the United Nations General Assembly, President Trump targeted familiar foes. In particular, he called for allies to help counter Iran.
All nations have a duty to act. No responsible government should subsidize Iran's bloodlust.
And he called out Chinese trade policy.
It has embraced an economic model dependent on massive market barriers, heavy state subsidies, currency manipulation, product dumping, forced technology transfers, and the theft of intellectual property, and also trade secrets on a grand scale.
The president also used the World Forum to make his case for his domestic agenda. He praised U.S. unemployment rates and highlighted his tax cuts. And he was uncompromising on illegal immigration.
If you make it here, you will not be allowed in. You will be promptly returned home. You will not be released into our country.
Today's speeches also featured a number of authoritarian and far-right figures, including leaders from Turkey, Egypt, and Brazil. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro dismissed warnings about wildfires in the Amazon rainforest.
The Amazon is not being devastated, nor is it being consumed by fire, as the media misleadingly says.
Meanwhile, President Trump did meet with one traditional ally, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. The meeting came hours after Britain's highest court struck down Johnson's decision to suspend Parliament. The president offered him moral support.
He's doing a fantastic job, not easy, but doing a really good job, and I think he's going to make great progress come October.
For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Yamiche Alcindor at the United Nations in New York.
Mudslides and power outages hit the U.S. Virgin Islands today as Tropical Storm Karen arrived. The storm also brought heavy rain to Puerto Rico as winds of 45 miles an hour. Hours earlier, an earthquake shook the island but caused little damage. Farther north, Tropical Storm Jerry could reach Bermuda on Wednesday. It had sustained winds today at 50 miles an hour. In Northern California, threats of wildfires brought blackouts for more than 24,000 homes and businesses. Pacific Gas and Electric shut off electricity in parts of the Sierra Nevada foothills overnight amid hot and windy conditions. In the last 2 years, downed power lines have sparked huge fires in the state. As a result, PG&E is now in federal bankruptcy proceedings. U.S. health officials say there have been hundreds more cases of lung illnesses affecting e-cigarette users since last week. In all, 9 people have died in recent months and hundreds have been hospitalized. At a U.S. House hearing today, Dr. Ann Schuchat of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said officials still don't know the cause.
We know that the products out there have changed a lot, and the use has probably increased, but we don't yet know if there's a new particularly risky product out there or a substance that's in the products or manipulation that's dangerous.
The Trump administration has proposed a ban on flavored e-cigarettes, and this afternoon, the governor of Massachusetts ordered a temporary ban on the sale of all vaping products. The European Union's highest court sided with Google today, ruling that EU privacy standards do not apply globally. The landmark decision limits the reach of the so-called right to be forgotten. That standard lets users in Europe request that search engines remove some links from their names. France had asked that the rule be applied everywhere, not just within the EU. Famed opera singer Placido Domingo has withdrawn from performing with the New York Metropolitan Opera amid sexual harassment accusations. In a statement, he says he strongly disputes the claims, but does not want to be a distraction. He says he will not be returning to the Met. Domingo is 78 years old. And on Wall Street, stocks sank on worries about impeachment and a drop in consumer confidence. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 142 points to close at 26,807. The Nasdaq fell nearly 119 points, and the S&P 500 dropped 25. Still to come on the NewsHour, what's next in the Brexit saga after a critical move by the Prime Minister is ruled unconstitutional? Out of the shadows, the survivor of the Stanford University sexual assault case reclaims her voice. Plus, writer Ta-Nehisi Coates on myth, memory, and his first novel, The Water Dancer.